Yeah, Brian O'Driscoll on Wednesday Night Rugby this weekend has kicked off a larger conversation about the use of painkillers in sport. I'm delighted to say Alan Quinlan has joined us in studio as always on a Friday. Morning, Quinny.
Morning, Adrian.
Doppelganger jumpers there, good work.
Good shout,
You matched up before you text each other before you left the house this morning.
Yeah, we always do.
The
on Fridays
wine
we wear
this
red.
morning, yeah.
Absolutely.
Very good, yeah. Right, the topic of painkillers obviously has been dominating the headlines post Brian's comments on Wednesday Night Rugby during the week. What's your experience?
My experience is I've taken painkillers, I've taken anti-inflammatories. Did I take them every match? No, I didn't. Everybody's different, I think. I suppose there's a lot of physical contact in rugby, and sometimes the most attritional part of the week is maybe not the game on some weeks, but it's sometimes in training you get a lot of bangs and knocks as well from the physical contact there. So yeah, I've taken them. I think it's people have a divided opinion on this, whether it's right or wrong, or is it performance enhancing, is it performance enabling. I believe if you know, there's a responsibility on the player as well to understand what they're taking, why they're taking it, and is there long-term effects. And so we're not kids either, you know what I mean? I suppose you don't want to create a culture in sport where, you know, the word habit and getting into the habit of taking something that, even from a psychological point of view, that it helps you, and that you feel you're getting an edge or you're getting through the game. But my experience of it is, you know, people who take anti-inflammatories or painkillers are taken for a specific reason, to get through the game and to prepare themselves. Now, some people may, you know, question the moral side of that. Is it right? Is it wrong? Are you risking injury? I can only speak for myself that I've never taken an anti-inflammatory with the thought that, God, this is going to long term, it's going to damage me. It was always with the view that, you know, I have some sort of discomfort in my ankle or my neck or my shoulder, and that it's going to help me take away a bit of that pain and allow me play. I don't think the numbing the pain scenario that people sometimes say, I don't think that wasn't the case with me. I never tried to numb pain. If I thought that I was going to do damage and I was going to get through this game this Saturday and then maybe not really know where I'm at in the next couple of weeks, and that I could be damaging myself and I could be risking being out for a number of weeks, I would certainly not go down that road. And that's probably the difference between getting an injection. I had an injection once in my career, actually twice, once in 1998 for a shoulder injury when I got called into the Irish squad. I damaged my shoulder in a Munster game. I was called up to the squad, and I damaged part of my supraspinatus, a kind of a ligament or a tendon, and it was very inflamed, so it was really tender and sore. So I got an injection of an anti-inflammatory and cortisone to alleviate that pain and to try and take away that the discomfort that was there, and hopefully would heal a little bit quicker with the anti-inflammatory, because obviously if you get rid of the inflammation, you have a chance of rehabbing it and doing exercises on it to strengthen up the area again. And once then in 2009, for the second time was in 2009 when I damaged my sternum. It was around this time, in the back-to-back games in Europe. We played Perpignan on a Friday night, and I got an elbow straight into the sternum here, which is a very sore thing, and anybody's had a rib injury, it's the same. It can last for weeks, that kind of discomfort and pain. And we played in Perpignan 8 days later, and you know, I wanted to play that game. I had a big pad on my chest all week in training, trying to get through the training, and it was quite sore. So I'd taken anti-inflammatories after the game to try and reduce the swelling and stuff like that. And then the following Friday or Saturday, I think it was a Saturday game. On the Friday night, I got an injection from the doctor as a pain relief. Now, I understood that I wasn't going to do any damage to my chest or my ribs, that, you know, everything was stable and there was no risk of further complicating it. I suppose bruising on bruising is sore, if you know what I mean. So it was a case to try and get through the game, and I played 60 minutes in that game. And probably when that painkiller or anti-inflammatory kind of wore off, I was tender again, you know. But I was able to play the week after then. And
are they the sort of things that you need an exemption for? Like, were you?
Yeah, oh no, we had to write the exemption on a Friday night. You can only take it within the 24, if you're taking it within the 24-hour period, that you have to. And so it was through the doc, we filled out the form, and it was sent away and faxed to the relevant authority to say that, look, There's a cortisone and anti-inflammatory injection being administered here, and like I would have a problem with the certain sense of if someone was taking injections regularly to try and get through games. Well, that's nonsensical.
So the difference there then is, right, the thing that Brian is talking about is general pain management. So it's, and he spoke about a lot of the older players. So I've come to a certain point in my career where any sort of physical contact over the course of a game or training is having this impact on me that's obviously making it difficult to get through the rest of my week, as opposed to, and not excluding, but as opposed to when you pick up an actual specific injury that you need to try and recover from. And I think that's for me, been the main interesting point of this conversation, that it's that pain management. And so you had said that you had at some point, you would have taken some
I would have taken and
maybe for training as well. Was that? I mean, I don't.
Yeah, on occasions you'd go in on a Tuesday and you have a contact session, or you have a stiffness from the weekend of the match, and I don't think any rugby player, in particular in rugby, would go in any week that wouldn't be sore. So maybe rugby players take them a little bit more regularly. But I sometimes when I hear players talking about it, or ex-players saying that they're popping pills left, right and centre, it's a bit misconstrued, because we're adults. We got to make these decisions ourselves as well. And I listened to Dr. O'Driscoll the other night in the interview, saying that there is a responsibility on the players. Like, nobody's holding you down and administrating injections, and I think it's a bit insulting to doctors to suggest that maybe that they're pushing. I don't think Brian meant that they're pushing tablets on people. I think a lot of guys. I never really took caffeine at all, so I wasn't a caffeine taker.
By the way, I don't think he was saying that at all.
He wasn't. Absolutely.
I'm an adult. I'm going to make the decision.
But I think some of the headlines in the papers were a little bit taken out of context. I think he was saying that, and I understand exactly where you get a bit of comfort from, because I guarantee you no rugby player will say they go any week without feeling some sort of tightness, soreness, a bit of bruising somewhere. It's just the nature of it. That's how you try and manage, and the recovery process nowadays is so much better, where straight after a game, the doctors and the physios are going around literally chatting to every single player, any knocks, any bangs, any potential bruising, and you're in the ice baths, and sometimes there's no alcohol after a games, and it's recovery drink, and it's eat the right food. Then you're in on Sunday morning, you're getting massage, physio, even doing a light bike session to flush out the system. All that kind of stuff is done much better nowadays. So I wouldn't say there's the same kind of need for, maybe it's managed much better now. And I had Dr. Mick Malloy on this morning on breakfast, and I asked him the long-term effects, because I was thinking, God, is there long-term effects? And he didn't think there was long-term effects if you're taking tablets. I think he's, obviously there's still some risk if you're numbing pain, or if you're enabling yourself to play with an injury. There's a difference between playing with an injury and playing with pain or a bit of stiffness or soreness. Now, don't get me wrong, if there's a big final coming up at the weekend, the Champions Cup final, and Johnny Sexton has a niggle in his shoulder, will he take some pain relief for that to get through the game? Will he maybe get himself strapped up? And that's the player taking a risk himself, and he will do it, and I'll do it as well.
Yeah. And I suppose, look, clearly I'm no doctor, but obviously the anecdotal evidence is out there that taking stuff like the strong anti-inflammatory or strong medication in a way that you shouldn't be, for example, on an empty stomach, obviously over a prolonged period of time, can have detrimental impacts on you. And that's the type of information, I suppose, or knowledge that at least at some point or another players are making informed decisions, whether it's...
Yeah, and I think, look, that's why I say it's unfair to blame, because ethically, I don't think any doctor, I've never seen a doctor pushing painkillers and going around looking for candidates to take them.
Again, I don't think that was the insinuation.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Actually, you're right, but I don't think that happens. And just to make clear that it doesn't happen, and I've never seen it happen. I think that getting into the habit of taking something that's going to alleviate some pain or kind of discomfort is something that has happened for sure. And me personally, I try to avoid that scenario. And obviously, if I was feeling good in myself, I didn't feel a need to take painkillers. But there were certain weeks where I did, and I had to take anti-inflammatories, and most of the time I had bloody knocks. When I got my knee done, you know, I'm trying to take anti-inflammatories to reduce the swelling so I can go in and do an operation, or my shoulder, or if any sort of soft tissue injuries, you know, you would try and, you know, naturally diphene or whatever reduces that inflammation. So, but it is a good conversation to have, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line? I think the responsibility is on the doctor and the player to understand what's going on, and maybe if there was a culture of it, of people being in the habit of it, that culture has changed now. I don't know, because I'm not in the dressing room anymore. It's a good few years since I was there, but you know, people, maybe some players relied on them a bit. I didn't really notice it because I wasn't someone who was continuously looking to take anti-inflammatories. I took them when I needed them, and that would have been, it could have been on a regular basis, it could have been for a couple of weeks, it mightn't have been for another couple of weeks, and it was something I understood the reason for it and what I was taking.
Where do you stand on where liberal painkiller use lies on the spectrum of performance enhancement? That's just a final question.
That's a good question. It's a complicated one. Where do I stand on...
Is it performance enhancing?
No, I don't think it's performance enhancing. It's performance enabling. And
is that the same thing though?
No, it's not. Performance enhancing drugs are something that you're doing illegal, you're cheating, you're boosting your performance, you're making yourself you're giving yourself way more energy, you're giving yourself an unfair advantage. I think when you're injured there's a level here that we'll say, call it that line, that the fit and healthy player in any sport will be. When you get injured, you drop down a level. So if your hamstring is tight, you're not going to be able to run as fast as normal, or if you have a shoulder injury, you're not going to be able to tackle as much. If you can reduce some inflammation, it's bringing you back up to enable you to perform at peak fitness. Where I think performance enhancing drugs, illegal steroids and illegal drugs bring you up to here. So it brings you way above the level playing field. So that's my opinion on it. Now, I still believe it's a good conversation to have. Yeah. You know, my young lad is playing sport. All our kids are going to play sport. Do we want him to get into the habit of under 12s taking pain relief? You know,
that's
I think,
and that's
for me, Adrian, as long as it's done right, and that the moral ethics are right. Yeah. And again, it's something that's hard to regulate. Like, what do you do? World Rugby, you can't take diphene anymore. We put painkillers on a banned list. It's a very complex way of handling it. I think just the responsibility of the player and the doctor is really important. But it's a good transparent. I think it's a good conversation, and it's probably a good message to send out to the next generation of sports people coming through. That look, just be careful that you don't risk further damage to yourself. I don't think there's any cheating going on, but there may be some potential of further injury.
Yeah. All right, Quinny, you're going to come back to us in 10-15 minutes time. We're going to get stuck into the weekend's rugby, so thanks for the minute.
Yeah,
we'll be back to you
perfect.
in a bit.
Thanks.